Hey y'all, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome to Tenyan's Corner. Very excited about today's review because I'm going to be reviewing The Batman. I was very hyped for this movie, and we've seen many iterations of Batman in live-action films, from the classic Tim Burton films, the campier Joel Schumacher movies, and then we had the grittier, more grounded Christopher Nolan take on Batman, followed by Zack Snyder's kind of more futuristic, dystopian kind of Batman. And now we have Matt Reeves take on the character. So is this worth going to? Is this doing anything more of the character? And at this point, is there anything more we can say about Batman or do with Batman? And I guess for me, the answer is, after watching this movie, is yeah, there's a lot there to unpack in this movie. By the way, this is going to be mostly a non-spoiler review. I don't want to spoil the movie for you if you haven't seen it. Okay, so first of all, how was Robert Pattinson as Batman? And he did a very unique interpretation of the character. And I think Matt Reeves, probably, one of his influences of comic book cinema was very likely The Crow. Bruce Wayne / Batman in this movie feels very much like a vengeful spirit, like Brandon Lee in The Crow, the film The Crow. Even though there's not a outright supernatural kind of element in this film, just the suit itself preserves Batman's supernatural, intimidating kind of appearance, but also creates a very tactical, grounded suit that looks like, when you see it in action, it looks like something that could really work in the real world. So Pattinson plays Batman / Bruce Wayne as this kind of isolated, very forlorn, grief-stricken figure who's dealing with his childhood trauma. I thought Pattinson did a very good job of conveying that bottled up anger and trauma just on his features, his face, his expressions, that even as he was like suppressing all these dark impulses and emotions, you could feel them like simmering to the surface. In this film, I had surprisingly more of an emotional reaction to the character. At the end, not to spoil anything, but there's a moment, there's an evolution of the character, you could say, where the very dark, almost hopelessness, nihilistic kind of tone of the movie that it starts with, it doesn't quite end there. There is, kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel at the end. And I think in a film like this, that was a brave thing to do. But if we're talking purely about the tone of the movie, there is a shift at the end, but it is still very dark. And for me, it reminded me most of a film like Joker. It really had that very realistic, unrelenting grimness to the world, that it was just unrelenting. Like there was no hardly any catharsis or a release away from that tension and that darkness and that grimness. It was just unrelenting throughout it. And I think that's why this Matt Reeves movie has felt very much like a horror film, or it takes a lot of nods from like horror cinema, because it has such an unrelenting grimness to its atmosphere, to its tone. The characters are all either morally flawed, or corrupt, and I mean, everything's going to shit, basically. So that's why, and it was very much like that in The Joker. This point in society that's reached a kind of dystopian level of misrule and structures breaking down, and crime is spiking, and everyone's living in fear and out for themselves, and very dark. Apart from Batman, I was most excited to see how they were going to depict and portray Gotham City. It's something that neither the Snyder films delve too much into, nor the Christopher Nolan films, as great as they are. They don't quite capture the feel of Gotham for me, or spend too much time with like the actual like world building to create like an architecture to the world, to create like a history to the world. And I thought this film brilliantly, without saying too much, just like showing you parts of the city. Of course, Gotham City very much inspired by New York City. So in this, you have like Times Square all lit up. It looks like it's all raining everywhere. A lot of rain in this film, and some scenes out of this movie look just like something out of Blade Runner. It's very film noirish and dystopian, and so I think the film did a wonderful job of representing that kind of madness and anarchy and dystopia of Gotham City through its architecture. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other characters, and particularly the villains. And that's one of the things I love this film so much. I think Batman, for me, was so interesting that he surprisingly overshadowed the villains. Again, the film did a great job of doing Batman in a very interesting way that kept you like unsure what to think of his character and his motivation, why he's operating and doing certain things. But anyway, so with the villains, I'll start with Catwoman. Even though she's not quite a villain, but she always skirts the lines between good and bad. And Zoe Kravitz, very capable actress, and I think she brings a lot to the role. Was not given a lot to do in the film. I would have liked a little bit more, but she leaves you wanting to see more of that character, and she really wins you over. She's very sleek and sexy. She looks good in the suit. Her fight scenes, when they happen, again, there's not a lot of them, but it makes you interested to see this character come alive in her movements and the way she fights, the way she accomplishes things and get things done, and uses her skills to do that. So she was fascinating. Definitely hope to see more of her in future films. The Penguin, I would say of the villains, was kind of the MVP of the film. Colin Farrell was amazing. As has been said, his prosthetic job, it looks so real. And he just plays that kind of classic mobster character to the hilt. His accent and the way he talks and his attitude and affect. He was just really badass, and you can see how this character is just gonna start coming into his full power and being a real threat to Batman. Paul Dano was excellent as the Riddler. He feels like a person who doesn't have like a solid core. He's like fragmented and this hodgepodge of identity. That the city itself has made him this broken soul, and his psychosis is. I'm not going to give that away, but his psychosis is very directly linked to Gotham and the history of Gotham and the history of some of the generational history within Gotham too. So not to give too much away with that, but Riddler, creates these kind of riddles, these deadly riddles and games throughout the city, targeting particular individuals and people to unmask the corruption within Gotham City. That's his whole agenda. So twisted morality behind it. He's trying to unmask the corruption and show people the true face of Gotham City. It's just that he has to do it by incredibly brutal and violent means, and he's a very interesting character in that way. The riddles themselves weren't quite as inventive as I thought they were going to be, but they did accomplish a job and serve their purpose. And one of them leads to Batman to make a huge mistake that creates a lot of devastation and destruction. Through this mistake Batman makes in the film, and it's a really good moment in the film, and I really appreciated that. Actually, to go back to Batman, that was another great thing about it, because unlike other Batmans, this Batman he gets hurt. I mean, he gets scared sometimes too. He's not this invulnerable person. Of course, Batman is human like the rest of us, and I think this film wanted to, put that out there. Listen, this is a guy in a suit. Yeah, he has special skills. He has a lot of money. He has technology to get the work he wants to do done. But he takes his punches. He gets shot, and and the action in this film is very good in that way. And then that's what makes a good action film, is when you're on the edge of your seat, like with the hero is just not dominating everyone, like in a John Wick movie. And there's really good action. The one criticism with action, I thought it was superb. The one criticism is that it was too dark at times, often. And I wish they had made it a little clearer than they did. But that might be due to the fact that it's a PG-13 movie, and they don't want to dwell on a lot of the violence, and they want to use shadow and stuff to suggest something more violent happening, and rather than showing it. And I understand that, because this film is not for kids. It definitely pushes the PG-13 rating to the hilt, but it does cleverly suggest a lot of the extreme violence that's happening that you can't show in a film like this, but it can suggest it, and I think it does a good job. Should you go see this film? Hell yeah, if you're a Batman fan. Maybe I'll go see it again in the theaters. I've just definitely one I'm going to watch and revisit continually, and I'm really looking forward to what they do next. And I want to see more Robert Pattinson as his character, and explore more of this world. And this is so much you can go from here. And I think they really made a great movie here. A real crowd pleaser. I mean, at the showing I went to, or the two showings, it was a jam-packed theater. And so really good time. Definitely check it out if you can. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.